a bit of a change of pace because we spoke quite a bit last week and we had a whole lot of you get in contact with us last week about Noonamah Ridge. Now, we know that there's been a fresh bid from developers to build thousands of homes on undeveloped land in Darwin's rural area after a similar proposal was rejected in 2020 due to opposition from locals. Now, Melbourne-based developer Intrapac Property has written to the Planning Minister Josh Burgoyne asking for an amendment to the Northern Territory's planning scheme to make way for that project set to be named Lloyd Creek, not Noonamah Ridge. I do apologise, Lloyd Creek Rural Village. I think before it was Noonamah Ridge. Now, the proposal would see 4,000 homes built south of Humpty Doo in an area which is zoned for rural living. Now, joining me on the line is the member for Goyder, Andrew Mackay. I believe he had a community meeting about this on the weekend. Good morning, Andrew.
Morning, Katie, and morning to your listeners.
Good to have you on the show, mate. Did you have a meeting on the weekend with the public?
Yeah. So this proposal's gone up again. So I thought best thing to do would be to hear from people who'd be directly affected by this proposal. So on Friday last week, I went out and I put a letter on everyone's gates in the surrounding areas saying, "Hey, I want to hear from you. Come on down." So Monday, the public holiday, we got about 70 people down to the village green.
Yeah, right.
And basically I walked them through some of the details about what's going on, because obviously not everyone refreshes the planning scheme notices online every day.
True.
So there's a bit of it's a bit of a process sometimes. So walked them through that. Spoke about what is being proposed this time, because it is different from what was proposed a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
The number of activity centres has changed and some of the information, as well as this is a planning scheme amendment rather than a development approval. So it's slightly more technical in nature. So had Jerry Wood come along.
Yep.
I've been speaking to Jerry throughout this process. So he gave his understanding of what's going on. Emma Sharp as well, a local community member, who was quite involved the last time this came around. And then we just heard from the community to see what concerns they actually have.
And so, Andrew, what did people say? Like, what were some of the concerns that you'd heard at that meeting? Were people opposed to it or for it, or was it a bit up in the air?
I think broadly speaking, those that attended, there was a strong sentiment against it. And part of that was, the concerns that have been raised around, in particular, traffic management, right? If all this development happens, and it is happening over 30 years, it's not going to be an immediate tomorrow, but, what would happen to the Redcliffe Road or Alverley Road or Elizabeth Valley Road, that kind of more local concern where they're like, well, would Redcliffe Road become another Girraween Road?
Yeah.
With just a number of traffic every morning. And then, stormwater considerations, there is some flooding in the area, as well as the, general concern around sizing of blocks and that kind of thing.
Yeah. And so from your perspective, I mean, obviously you've heard the concerns of locals, you've spoken to those locals. Where to next? Because the developer's obviously written to the Minister, Josh Burgoyne. So where to next for you as the local member?
So I'm organising to have a follow-up meeting, which at the original meeting, I only letterboxed the people neighbouring the area because I wanted to hear from the people who be directly affected. So this time I'm opening it up to the broader community. So this Sunday, I know it is Mother's Day, so everyone can have a sleep in. But Monday at 4 p.m, I'll be at the Village Green again, and I'll be able to walk people through how to make a submission, as well as, hear any more additional concerns. We have until Friday week to put in submissions. And it's not a hard process. If you've never done it before, it can be a bit scary. But I encourage everyone to put forward their concerns, any feedback they have, whether they are for or against the development, to make sure that their voices are heard.
Well, look, I think it is such an important thing, particularly, for those living out in the area. I mean, how do you feel about it?
I think it's a unique approach to the way development has occurred in the rural area. This is actually master planning an area over 30 years, right? So at the moment, what happens with a lot of developments is people parcel off a section of land.
Mm-hmm.
They put as many roads and houses as they can, and they never leave space for things like parks and community areas and shopping centres and schools and that kind of thing. So by having a large parcel over a long-term plan, those kind of community services can be added. So like there's some merit in having this as the way going forward to have these large-scale proposals. Now, when it comes to, the actual size of the block and, the impact on existing residents, that's my number one concern with any development is how will it impact those that already live there, and to make sure that that's managed well. But it's a different way of doing things than we've done it previously.
Yeah.
And, I went through Google Earth the other day and I was like, well, what did the rural area look like 30 years ago? Right? In 1995, what was there, what wasn't? And you'll be surprised how much has developed over the last 30 years. It's longer. I haven't been around for 30 years. Hopefully in another couple of years, I'll be 30. But it's been, lots of Herbert, lots of Howard Springs, the back of Virginia, Bees Creek, whole swathes of Humpty Doo. It's all happened in that last 30 years. And what you haven't seen is new community parks. What you haven't seen is space for new schools and that kind of thing. So, but my job ultimately is to listen to the community.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm doing. So I've had people ring me. Some people don't like going to meetings, and I've been meeting with as many people as possible.
Yeah.
And I encourage everyone to read through the documents, put in a submission, make sure your voice is heard, and I'll continue to advocate for them.
Well, Andrew, I really appreciate you having a chat with us this morning. So just a reminder to anybody out there listening this morning that does want to have their say, where's the best place for them to go?
So if you type into Google NT planning notices online, and then you'll have to scroll down a little bit and you'll see PA 2024/0093, and that'll have all the documents there. You can put in a submission on the website as well. If you have any confusion about it, please reach out to my electorate office. Come see me next to Domino's and Woolies in Coolalinga, and we can walk you through it. We can print off documents, because not everyone is a fan of the technology we have now. Yeah,
well, that is true. Andrew Mackay, good to catch up with you this morning, mate. Really appreciate it. Member for Goyder.
All right, have a lovely day. Thank you.
You too. Thank you.